Hey everybody, I'm Jim, and I hope you're really doing well today. As you can see, I have a large smile on my face because I love partscasters. Normally, I like to assemble them myself because I'm a little bit picky when it comes to the specs and things like that, but every once in a while, amongst the sea of supremely overpriced offsets on Reverb that are made of Squire and Mexican parts, you find something that looks absolutely aces, and that's the case of this guitar right here, finished in a very appropriate for October pumpkin. I'm calling it pumpkin finish. Now, I decided instead of just doing a straight up demo of this guitar, I thought it would be more useful if I put the thing on the bench, we took it apart, and I showed you some things that I look for in a partscaster, whether it's in a listing or if I'm checking it out in person, to kind of verify the authenticity of the parts or to get a better idea of what exactly I'm going to be getting. After that, I'm going to put the thing back together, play a little bit through the Princeton Reverb. Not going to do a full demo because, after all, this is a one-off partscaster, and give you my thoughts on the guitar from there. But I want to start with a few things as to why I was interested in this one, and some of the question marks that I still have about it that I won't have answers to, certainly, until I actually take the thing apart. Number one, I know that this is an American original neck. I really like this neck profile. It's got the modern 9.5-inch radius with the vintage tall frets on it, the lacquer finish on the back. This thing alone is worth a pretty penny on its own, and it feels great. There's no fretwear on it. I know the vibrato here is an American vintage unit. I have just played so many of these guitars, but one way that you can tell in advance if it's an American made one versus, say, a Japanese made one, because both of those have the locking mechanism on them, the way that the strings come out from the bridge into the vibrato. On an American one, it's going to be dead straight. On a Japanese one, there's going to be an angle on both of the E strings coming into the actual vibrato tailpiece itself. There's only one real mystery about this guitar that I can't wait to find out for certain, and that is, what's up with this body? Is this a refinished Fender body? Because it's got a super thin nitrocellulose finish. It really depends on the camera angle and the lighting that you're looking at it at, but it's got a ton of weather checking, and it's missing some paint in certain areas of the guitar. I used to have an MJT telly, and I'm willing to bet the farm that this is going to be an MJT refinish at the very least, but whether or not it's done on an existing Fender body or it's just a straight up MJT body, that's something we're not going to know for sure until we put it on the bench and have a look. And then, how tight is this fit? Ooh, it's pretty tight. I just want to be delicate here. Perfect. Okay, so we got the neck off the guitar. Here's what we're going to look at. First things first, we want to look at if there's any stickers on it. And you can see by the side here some of the residue from either the original finish that was on this guitar or the refinished body that it's replaced. This was originally in ocean turquoise, which is pretty cool. And then another thing, you can always look for this sort of font with a stamp on it that's going to have a date. This is May 9th, 2022. And in the case, it actually had this little thing with it for the lessons, and it had a date of May 23rd, 2022. So in my book, the neck 100% is original American. But if you happen to get a neck that doesn't have the sticker on it anymore, sometimes you'll still be able to tell, because as you can see right here, this says 7710904 right there on the big barcode. Right below that is the same exact thing, and it's got something you could scan that'll bring it up. On modern Fenders you'll find that, on older ones you might not, but this is always a really good place to start. There's a shim covering up any markings, but I'm willing to wager the world here. This is going to say MJT underneath this shim, but if it doesn't, it does. MJT. And I believe that the way they do things, this isn't actually a date. It says 3/9. I think that means 3 pounds 9 ounces, and that would make a lot of sense because this guitar fully assembled is super light. It weighs under 7.5 pounds, and that's pretty light for a Jazzmaster, especially one with an older body on it. But this actually makes the rest of the process very simple. All I need to verify is the bridge itself, what guitar that came off of, what part it is, and then the electronics. But in lieu of this potentially being a Fender, what you would want to look for are very similar things as we looked for on the neck. We're going to be looking for the same sorts of numbers, any sorts of dates or things like that, and you'll be able to cross-reference online what it came from as far as the model line. Right now though, let's go ahead and remove this pick guard and do our last part. And the last kind of question mark I have before I check out the electronics underneath the pickguard is the bridge. This is very clearly a Mustang bridge. It's not a Johnny Marr, and I can tell it's not a Johnny Marr or a Stay-Trem. There aren't any kind of rubber housing things around it, and also you can tell because of the little screws and the actual retainers that are holding them in. This is an American Professional bridge. Yep, P for professional. So let's go ahead now, remove the pickguard, and go from there. All right, they did do shielding inside of this. That's aftermarket. It doesn't come with the same plates that you would find in American original Jazzmasters or an American vintage Jazzmaster, where your solder points are going to be there for your grounds. But you can totally get away with something like this because, as you can see here, this connection right there is being grounded right there, and then furthermore, it's being into the pickup, and then you have the bridge being grounded as well, going into the same exact spot. So that's pretty good, and this is all being grounded onto one of the pots from the actual pickguard itself. Same thing going on the neck pickup, and yeah, just looks really clean. Now, depending on the age of the pot, either on the sides or on the top, you're going to be able to tell what year it was made in from there. Now, since this guitar is an MJT body, I can't show you exactly what sorts of stickers you're going to be looking for on this one, but I can on some of these. You basically are just looking for the similar things that you're going to be looking for on the bottom of the actual neck itself. You want to look for stickers. A lot of the times, especially on modern Fender guitars, they're going to have some sort of model number or model code that's associated with it on said stickers. And if you're buying a body, it claims to be a Fender body, and you can't find any of that stuff. Like, all the cavities are devoid of any markings, and you have no stickers whatsoever inside of the cavity with the pickguard off. Unless the price is super good or you're able to see it in person and you just feel like this is really good, I like the guitar and I like how it plays, that's something that I personally wouldn't want to spend top dollar on. One thing I want you to keep in mind here, I know I just told you all the stuff to look for because it is important that you pay an appropriate price for something and you don't get scammed with cheap parts. What's most important is if you could play the guitar in person, or the store or the person that you're buying it from has an acceptable return policy in case you don't love it, because you gotta have the best specs in the world, but if it doesn't feel great in your hands and you don't want to play it, it's pointless. It's pointless. You're just going to be moving that thing on to the next person. And that leads me to my initial kind of appraisal of this guitar before I plug this thing in. It feels awesome. I love how light this is. This is almost a full pound lighter than my American Vintage 65 Jazzmaster, and it's weird. It almost feels weird because it's so similar almost in the way the shape is and the taper is. It's a little bit different on the American original. It has a little bit flatter of a radius, but the overall feel of the guitar is great. So whoever did this work, absolutely kudos to you. You did a great job. Now, let's plug into the Princeton, hear what it sounds like. As expected, guitar sounds really good. I had a lot of fun with the rhythm circuit there. I was feeling a little bit jazzy, wanted to groove a little bit, and it just sounds like a classic Jazzmaster. I don't have much more to say about that. It's great. The thing for me, and part of the reason why I love partscasters so much when they're done right, it feels so good. It doesn't leave you wanting anything more, and especially nowadays that it feels like your money doesn't go as far with brand new guitars because the prices on everything are just astronomical at this point. I love the fact that you can piece things together if you're savvy, if you're patient, or you can find something that's already been done really well, and you can save so much money, but you can get an instrument that you pick it up and you're like, yes, this is great. lightweight Jazzmaster, great American neck on it with perfect fretwork. Don't have to worry about anything as far as replacing a single part on this guitar. Thin nitrocellulose finish that Fender USA aren't offering on any production guitars, and yeah, didn't pay anywhere near what a new American production Jazzmaster would cost, which I think is like $2,700 at this point. But all American parts, some of them are Fender, some of them are not, but it's just some of those parts are what's important. So that's it for today. Happy hunting if you're looking for partscasters, and yeah, I encourage you to do so because there's some real gems to be found out there. Just be mindful of all the things that I mentioned to look for if you're a stickler for either resale value or you're buying blind online. It's important to get as much information as you can before you commit to purchasing something with your hard-earned dollars. Thank you for watching today's video. For questions, comments, and or concerns, feel free to use the comments section, but outside of that, I'll see you on the next one. Take it easy, everybody.